And asking their questions. Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In compliance with Section 52 of the Northern Ireland Act 1998, I wish to make the following statement on the 22nd meeting of the North-South Ministerial Council in Special EU Programme sectoral format, which was held in the offices of the Department of Public Expenditure, National Development Plan Delivery and Reform in Dublin on Wednesday the 15th of May. As Minister of Finance, I represented the Executive and was accompanied by Junior Minister Cameron from the Executive Office. The Irish Government was represented by Minister Paschal Donohoe, TD, Department of Public Expenditure, National Development Plan Delivery and Reform. This statement has been agreed with Minister Cameron, and I am making the statement on behalf of us both. The NSMC received a report on the implementation of the 2014 to 2020 Peace 4 and Interreg 5A programmes. Ministers noted that EU expenditure targets to date for both programmes have been met and that both programmes are currently forecast to achieve full expenditure in line with total programme allocations. The NSMC noted SEUPB is working on the task to facilitate closure of the programmes. For Peace 4, 95 projects were approved within the priority areas of shared education, children and young people, shared spaces and services, and building positive relations. 88 projects have concluded, 1 has been withdrawn, and 6 are due to complete in 2024. Under Interreg 5A, 32 programmes were approved within the priority areas of research and innovation, environment, sustainable transport and health. 28 projects have concluded activity, 1 has been withdrawn and 3 are due to complete in 2024. Ministers welcomed the actions delivered specifically under the environment and sustainable transport themes of Interreg 5A to address the challenges of climate change and loss of biodiversity. The NSMC noted the SEUPB Chief Executive's progress report for the 2021 to 27 Peace Plus programme. Calls for funding applications opened in June 2023. Calls within 16 investment areas have opened to date, and 19 projects to the value of €278 million have so far been approved for funding, representing almost a quarter, 24.3% of the total programme value. Ministers received a presentation on the Peace Plus Young Social Innovators project. The NSMC noted the programme has a strong focus on actions to address climate change and loss of biodiversity, including an investment of €303 million or €3 million in the Supporting a Sustainable and Better Connected Future theme. Ministers welcomed the contribution of Peace 4, Interreg 5A and Peace Plus programmes in protecting and preserving peace and providing opportunities for building prosperity. Ministers noted and approved the SEUPB corporate plan for 2023 to 25 and the business plans and budget provision for 2022, 23 and 24, which were drafted in line with guidance issued by the finance departments. Ministers noted the SEUPB annual reports and accounts for 2019, 2020 and 2021 and its draft accounts for 2022-23. The SEUPB annual reports and accounts for 2019 and 2020 have been certified by the Comptrollers and Auditors Generals in both jurisdictions and have been laid before the Assembly and the Houses of the Oireachtas. The 2021 annual report and accounts have been certified by the Comptrollers and Auditors General in both jurisdictions, have been laid before the Houses of the Oireachtas and will be laid before the NI Assembly in due course. The 2022 and 23 draft accounts are currently awaiting certification by the Comptrollers and Auditors General in both jurisdictions, and following their certification will be laid before the Assembly and both Houses of the Oireachtas. Ministers noted the SEUPB's governance structures continue to operate effectively. The Council noted an independent organisational review of the SEUPB has been completed and has made recommendations on SEUPB staffing levels and grading. Ministers agreed that the approved headcount for SEUPB will be revised to 86 with the potential to increase to 88 and agreed that 5 posts identified in the review will be regraded. the NSMC agreed to hold its next special EU PB programmes meeting in autumn 2024.
Matthew O'Toole.
The current period for Peace Plus ends in 2027, so can I ask whether there was any discussion of whether that funding programme will be renewed? We will have a new EU Commission this year. There were EU elections this weekend. Not to rub it in, I'm sure the Minister did notice that there were elections this weekend, but it would be helpful to know what plans are in place to negotiate a new period of Peace Plus funding.
Minister.
So, as the member will be aware, the current 2021-27 Peace Plus programme came into existence as part of the withdrawal agreement in 2019. The proposal for Peace Plus was made within the context of our unique and specific circumstances on this island and with a view to supporting North-South cooperation under the Good Friday Agreement. Obviously, any successor programme to Peace Plus would require a decision at political level. An assessment of the benefits of the current and previous programmes and the need for further programme work will be undertaken. Discussions will be required with both the British and Irish governments and the EU, and a direction at a political level will allow these discussions to commence.
Nicola Brogan.
I want to get the Minister describe what is the current position with the Peace Plus programme, please.
Minister.
SEUPB officially opened the Peace Plus for funding calls in June last year. Programme implementation is progressing well. The majority of the 22 investment areas having opened their calls for application. The remaining investment areas are scheduled to open for applications later this year. A number of programme steering committee meetings have taken place. These make the final decisions on applications, resulting in funding being awarded. And so far, over a quarter, £274 million of the programme budget has been committed to 23 successful projects. This includes approximately £30.5 million committed since the meeting took place on the 15th of May. Funds have been committed to youth projects, mental health, shared education, local community peace action plans, victims and survivors, the Belfast to Dublin enterprise and geothermal energy.
Jan Forsyth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Minister, for your statement today. I note you mentioned the increased headcount approved in SEUPB, and I wonder, in this year of such a challenging budget, where within your department there's quite significant pressure and cuts right across our IT, HR, land and property services, what impact will Department of Finance budget cuts have on SEUPB?
Minister.
Yeah, thanks the member for the question. Obviously, it's important that SEUPB has the appropriate resource and structures to effectively implement both the Peace Plus project, which is worth over £1 billion, as well as closing Peace 4 and Interreg 5A. So given the magnitude, particularly of the administrative requirements to develop and deliver and the expanse of policy areas covered within Peace Plus, it was an appropriate time to reconsider the organisational requirements of SEUPB, and a number recommendation has been made for some additional posts. I have some of those costings here in front of me in terms of what will fall to the Department of Finance. So the cost of the additional resourcing will be funded from the technical assistance budget of Peace Plus programme. This is the budget allocated as per EU regulations for programme management, monitoring and valuation, and includes staff costs. Peace Plus is funded 80% through ERDF, which is fully reimbursed by the European Commission, and the remaining 20% is provided by the accountable departments' match funding, which comes from the core budget, and both obviously the DOF in the north and the Department of Public Expenditure, National Plan Delivery and Reform in the south are the accountable departments. So the cost to DOF would be almost 15% of the total additional cost, and the total additional cost for the posts is £300,000. So the cost that falls to the Department of Finance is £44,640, which in the grand scheme of the department's budget isn't a huge amount, but obviously it's something that we will continue to monitor in the time ahead.
Owen Tennyson.
Mr Speaker, and thank you, Minister, for your answers on that statement. In relation to the independent organisational review, are there any significant recommendations other than those relating to headcount and regrading that the Assembly should be aware of?
Minister.
So I would be happy to write to the member in relation to the review, but the significant recommendations from it came in relation to the headcount, as I mentioned, in terms of actually being able to properly deliver this programme, given the scale of it, while also tidying up the closure of Piece 4 and Interreg 5A. And it was important, I suppose, juncture to ensure that SEUPB is appropriately resourced to deliver what it needs to deliver. So I'd be happy to write to the member with further details.
Kathleen Mason.
Minister, will Peace Plus see a simplified assessment process and a reduction in the administrative burden on applicants and the projects?
Minister.
So a priority during the Peace Plus development was to streamline that application and assessment process, focusing on reducing the time taken to assess applications and reducing the administrative burden both for applicants and the beneficiaries of funding. Department of Finance economists carried out a review of both the application template and the assessment process for Peace 4 and Interreg 5A and made recommendations on how these could be improved for Peace Plus. SEUPB has considered and implemented the recommendations where possible. SEUPB provides pre-development support to applicants, which is new for the Peace Plus programme, and it means SEUPB engages with applicants to help them facilitate the development of their applications prior to the calls for applications opening, and this then assists applicants to produce high-quality applications and projects. Peace Plus provides a small grants programme to help smaller community groups that previously felt they didn't have the capacity to be able to apply for the funding and the opportunity to, therefore to get involved. Grants of up to €100,000 are available under investment areas 1.2 and 6.2, and applications to these areas will be delivered in a more streamlined and simplified manner, and there has been engagement with the European Commission in terms of developing that process.
The SEUPB annual report and accounts for 2021 has been certified by the Controller and Auditor General in both jurisdictions, having been laid before the Houses of the Oireachtas and will be laid before the Northern Ireland Assembly in due course. Can I ask, Minister, what is the hold-up, and why then are we still awaiting certification for 2022?
Minister.
Well, I would be happy to write to the member and furnish him with details on that. I assume it's a process issue.
Colin McGrath.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. Minister, given that peace monies can often be delivered to the community and voluntary sector in the absence of funds from the Executive, is the Minister aware of any additional emphasis that could be placed on mental health? I have a number of groups across my constituency that are struggling for funds that absolutely need to get additional monies to be able to do their work, such as the Pop-Up Art in Downpatrick, My in Newcastle, the Well in the Kingdom, and even neurodivergent groups such as the ADHD Hub in Newcastle.
Sure.
I commend the member in getting the plugs in for his local constituency there. But one of the key themes of Peace Plus is youth mental health and well-being, and there are a significant role, I suppose, for community organisations in terms of Peace Plus, and there was significant engagement to ensure the needs of communities were being addressed and recognised within the development of the programme, and specific engagement with smaller community groups, which I think is really important, as I guess some felt there was a barrier previously to being able to get involved, and that's why there has been that specific focus on ensuring a more simplified approach to the application process. And I think that there are obviously the specific elements in relation to mental health, but obviously within those other themes as well, there are opportunities for community organisations and groups like those that you have mentioned to apply for those smaller grants as well, which is a new opportunity. and those grants of up to €100,000 will be part of the what's going to be called cross-community changemaker funds and cross-border changemaker funds. So there might be opportunities there, and I would encourage the member to engage with SEUPB around what additional opportunities there might be in relation to mental health.
Jim Allister.
Is it another sign of the profligacy of North-South bodies that in the case of SEUPB, no accounts after 2021 have even been certified, and yet the Minister comes to the House today and announces an increase in staff of up to 86 or even 88? She hasn't told us how many extra staff that is. How many extra staff are being appointed for this body whose accounts are not in order?
Minister.
Well, I'm sure the member will appreciate that the reasons why the accounts haven't been laid in the Assembly in the last couple of years is because the Assembly wasn't actually sitting and there wasn't an ability to approve the accounts via the North-South Ministerial Council. In relation to the specific question about the staffing complement, the current staffing complement for SEUPB is 57, and the last time it was reviewed was in 2012.
That concludes questions to the Minister for Finance. We now move to a series of motions on occupational pension schemes. So if members would take their ease for a moment while we change the top table.